Hello, it's Rachel. I'm in the basement again. This is the promised video about seed tape. I make this for any plant that I'm going to direct sow in the ground. If your first question is, do you need seed tape? Technically, no. The reason I like them is that when I sprinkle them in the ground, I tend to get a really dense planting, sort of like this indoor salad greens flat that I started, but it makes harvesting kind of difficult because they're really close together. So I do make my own seed tape such that when I'm ready to plant, I can just lay them out and I know that the spacing will be nice and convenient for harvesting. Let's get to the process. Took a 2-ply length of toilet paper, in my case 4 feet long, separated it out. This also lets you make 2 at a time. You can see I've got egg yolk here and a tape measure, which I lock in place to guide my spacing. Whisk the egg yolk with a fork and load it up onto a paintbrush. Interjecting real quick, why am I using egg yolk? So you can make these with Elmer's glue or just any kind of white school glue. Dot it in. You don't have to use egg yolk. I am avoiding chemicals in my life in general because I have autoimmune. And so I even make my own cleaning products and such. Coating the seeds with Elmer's kind of felt, I don't know, contrary to that. I discovered the drawback of egg yolk, which is birds came in and ate them. As I was finishing up, the final step would have been to cover the whole thing with, like half an inch of compost. And it started pouring and I didn't do the compost. I just ran back inside and figured I would get to it later. Famous last words. Came out the next morning to put the compost down and my seed tape was just perforated with little holes where I think it was birds attracted to the edible yolk had come in and eaten my seeds, and I had to do the whole thing again. Definitely, if you do the egg yolk, just bear in mind, you're gonna want to immediately put down soil, possibly even cover it, or just something to keep birds off of it until the seeds have had a chance to germinate. Just gives them a fighting chance so the birds don't come in and decimate everything. Okay, back to the tutorial. Take your egg yolk, take your glue, and you're going to use your measuring tape as a guide and place dots of your chosen adhesive every 2 inches in my case because I was doing lettuce, and you'll see that I'm putting them 1/4 of the way down. You want to visually divide this in half and then in half again to create something 1/4 of the way in from the edge. That's because we're going to fold this thing in half later, and if it's 1/4 of the way in, then it'll be centered when it's folded. So you can see I'm not measuring that, I'm just eyeballing it, but I went down the row and put dots every 2 inches until I was finished. First variety here is Little Gem Butterhead. Put some in my palm, sprinkle it on. I got a little too cute with this. I had 3 different varieties and I did like an A, B, C pattern. I probably wouldn't do that again, but went my way across the top and then back along the bottom, spacing it every 3rd dot, and the extra went back into my seed packet. Went back then with my second variety, Bronze Mignonette, and repeated. So now again, this is like the B in my ABC pattern. Went all the way down, came all the way back, and put it back in my seed packet again. Repeating with Lola Rosa, my 3rd variety, again into the palm, sprinkled onto the open spots. I got a little smarter on this one, and I started doing the top and the bottom in the same pass, just zigzagging back and forth, instead of going all the way down and all the way back like I had done before. So you can kind of see this was a pretty lengthy process. Remove your tape measure, fold it in half as mentioned to like kind of encase the seeds here. I gently pressed it down and then did the next one. The reason that you want to press kind of gently here, you do want it to close and be firm, but the next step is to peel this up. And you can kind of see as I do this here, it does stick a little bit, and if you press too hard, you might actually tear your paper as you're pulling it up. So take them off and set them aside to dry. And then, come back and clean up the residue. That's it. That is DIY seed tape. You'll notice I do label mine when I'm done. You're going to want to do that. You're not going to remember what's in them unless you only make one kind, in which case you don't need to do this. But I have spinach, I have chard, I have lettuce, I have radish, and there's no way when you're done to look at it that you're going to remember what everything is. Otherwise, this is a super simple, super useful thing. So I hope that was helpful. And until next time. Thanks for watching. Keep growing.